All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We'll be getting started in just a couple minutes here. Just want to give everybody a quick second to get settled, connect, make sure you're all good to go, and we'll be getting started with the session. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get started with the session today. Let me just get this out of the way here. The captions, of course, we're going to leave the QR code on the top right for everybody to be able to join at any time. So again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, wherever you may be. Today is July 19th, 2023, and here we are doing a monthly session. It's been a while. For those of you who have been joining every month, thank you very much. For those of you watching this recorded, thank you very much as well. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you have any comments, anything that you want to discuss or just ask a question about. Feel free to go to tradewithufos.com/Boyan, and I'll be able to get those answered, and or we can get somebody that can. All right. So, given the fact that we haven't traded on the previous session, I would say for about a month now, let's go ahead and take a look at to see if we have anything that we want to discuss in the chat room first. If there's any questions, any comments, feel free to type them up in the chat room. That's the one right here that you see in the QR code right there. So it is fairly easy to do. Just scan it with your phone. It'll take you straight to it. And then this is the key right here. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them. If you don't have any questions, we're just going to dive right in, see if we can find some, optimal setup before the market opens, so that we can take advantage of the volatility that kicks in at the open. We're gonna, and then again, this is on my other screen. This is on the same workspace. We're gonna use the market analyzer to kind of figure out, hey, what's going on, what the status is, where things are, and we'll go from there. So the first one that we do have open here, I'm just gonna pull up the speak up room on the other screen here just so I can see it clearly. And we'll be getting started right now. So as I said, the QR code and the chat room key are going to stay for the rest of the session. So um, feel free to join anytime. Again, that is anonymous. So let's go ahead and get started. The first instrument that we got loaded up in front of us here is the ES futures. A couple things that we need to look at, of course, for those of that are the veterans over here, you may as well go grab a cup of coffee. For those of you that are fairly new joining me live, there's a couple of things that your eyes need to be trained to do immediately as soon as this chart is open, and that, my friends, is the following. You need to look at this bottom left half of the screen. What we're looking for is a confirmation to the climate. The climate needs to give us that confirmation to essentially give us permission to even look at the rest of this chart right here, the rest of these charts, right? So without this, you immediately skip to something else. It's that simple. Given the fact that we are very emotional beings, very emotional creatures, sometimes you will think, hey, there's a trade here, there's a trade there. It's a lot easier if you have certain plans and rules that you simply don't deviate from, right? You just do not deviate from the plan. You do not deviate from what you've set out to do for that day, whether it's, I'm going to take every single trade or I'm only going to take 3 trades today, right? Whatever the case may be. The bottom line is that we do have a plan, and that plan says the first thing my eyes need to see is a confirmation to the climate, right? If I have a confirmation in the climate, which in this scenario I do, right? I have a thick sapphire dot. That means I have a confirmed up climate. That means I have permission to look for a trade on this instrument. Had that not been the case, had we started this session half an hour ago, which is right here, we would have had an unconfirmed climate. We would not have had permission to take a look at this market, right? We would essentially skip it and move on to the next one. Because think of it this way, time is precious and is limited, and opportunities will present themselves, but you will also miss opportunities because we're taking, we're taking our time to execute on some of these trades. All right. So given that this is an up climate, what we're looking for is a movement to the upside. Where does that movement to the upside occur? How do we get in? Where do we get out? What's our plan? Well, that's what we're here for today, right? We're here to do a trading session as well as answer any questions that you may have. So the first question, of course, is where do we get in? Our ideal entry point, given our current plan and given our current scenario with the market here, would be by utilizing 2 different aspects of trading, right? Something that's called, like, for example, common knowledge, right? Common things, common indicators that are found across all platforms, combining them with proprietary indicators, such as the one that we're using here, which is the auto UFOs, right? The green flying saucer here, unmistakably named UFO, which stands for unfilled orders. So our software has detected that there are some unfilled orders here, right? However, our ideal point would be the merger of the 2, of the proprietary and the common. And that would be here at this moving average. This is the 9 exponential moving average. That's what this gold line represents here, which, as you see, it is also here. Now, the reason why the value of a 15-minute time frame is the same as the one here is because NinjaTrader actually allows us to plot a different time frames EMA onto a different time frame chart. Okay, you see that? The 2-minute, the 1597, and the 2584 volume, they all have the same 9 EMA value, as the 50-minute down below. I think that's pretty cool. All right, and here we go. We actually do have a trade here, right there. 45.91 is actually our entry. Now our stop needs to be right below this 88.50. So our stop needs to be at 88.25. Our T1 will be a 1-to-1. Our T2 is going to be the first opposing UFO on this time frame down here. Yet I don't see any of them, so that means we're just going to have to do a trail stop. It's going to be easier to explain once this fills. Of course, it is one of those things where as powerful as an trader is, it does not let me pre-adjust my OCO, my bracket order. It triggers once the limit goes in, which in this scenario would be when the ES touches on the 45.91. In the meantime, any questions, any comments? Feel free to type it in the chat. And of course, something that I almost forgot to do. You know, the disclaimer is there as a ticker. Of course, this is for educational and instructional purposes only. We're providing these videos just to demonstrate how we utilize it. Of course, you can certainly utilize the software and the technology in a different way. This is just how we choose to go about it. And that's it for that. Okay, well, I mean, we do have our first setup here. We can hope that it fills. We'll probably have to wait a little bit. It came 2 ticks to the fill line. Did not quite get filled. And quite frankly, you know, before we started the session, the reason why I was still looking at it, still kind of hoping, because I saw the market moving up in this, you know, fairly directional way. And I thought maybe we will get a UFO. We did get a UFO. However, we have not touched that UFO yet. So unfortunately, we're going to have to hang around a little bit. We can go ahead and take a look at the NASDAQ. Okay, the NASDAQ is actually on the tail end of its climate. And the reason why we say it's on the tail end of the climate is because if you see right here, pull this up a little, we have a bit of a data box down here that we see. We see that currently the NASDAQ, it's on its 4th up climate. So that means it's been going up for about an hour, right? 4 times 15, it's an hour. And currently, and right here you see currently we're on the 4th one. The standard deviation, the 1 deviation, is 4. So that means that typically this market does go up for 4 50-minute increments. So this market typically does go up for an hour. And as of right now, we're on the tail end of that up climate. So that means getting in for the next, 30 seconds is okay. However, after that, we're essentially going not against our odds. We still have odds for it to go up, but we don't have as much of a odd or as much of information that this is going to be going to the upside. So that's what that represents. All right, let me just go back to the ES real quick just to double check. Doesn't look like it filled. We actually have another UFO above here on the 2-minute time frame, which, this, if you were a little bit more aggressive, you probably could have gotten in on this one. I myself, I like this kind of midpoint, even though we're going to get we got an update to the climate, and now it's moved up a little bit. You see it's at 45.90. We're getting in at 45.91. So I'm still very much okay with this trade. Let me go ahead and take a quick screenshot of this just so I can have it ready to go. All right. In the meantime, let's kind of switch gears from the equities and see if we got anything on the rest of them. It doesn't really look like it, unfortunately. We're on the fifth one on crude out of typically four as well. And gold, funny enough, we're also on the fifth one out of three that it goes up for. And on the euro, we're unconfirmed moving to the upside. So we are unconfirmed and moving to the upside. So unfortunately for us right now, okay, let's take a look at the Dow actually. It's also unconfirmed. Same type of movement, but of course, this was a much more impulsive move to the point of it is still unconfirmed. Okay, well, we do have our setup for now. Let's see if we can get a pullback down to where we need to be, where our entry is rather, not where we need to be. In the meantime, we can certainly look at some of the crypto markets, given that right now, in the past week, actually, we've had some very market-moving news, in my opinion. A landmark case, a lawsuit case that the SEC had filed against one of the kind of more prominent cryptocurrencies, XRP. Um, has the SEC has deemed it a security, and they filed a lawsuit against them, which caused a Ripple Labs and the XRP cryptocurrency to collapse, essentially. Um, well, the SEC has lost that case. The judge overruled that SEC for individuals' use is not a security. For institutional, it is still somewhat unclear. So we're going to see. It's a bit of a, it's positive news given that this is the way, for those of you outside the US, the way that our system works here is that we work on precedent. So right now, precedent has been established for at least one cryptocurrency that it is not a security. Um, Given that how many of the exchanges were so uncertain, and due to that uncertainty, we're moving away from the US because they were just, they were asking for direction, but they couldn't receive any. However, given that this case got resolved just this last week, it's I would say it's positive news for the overall crypto space for the US in the US. Obviously, out of the US, it's a completely different ballgame. I mean, everybody is jumping on it. Um, but now the US seems to be kind of redirecting itself, hopefully, to the crypto world, as we like to call it. Speaking of crypto, I do have TradingView pulled up here, and of course, TradingView is kind of the platform that I utilize for analysis. Execution is a little trickier as of late. Binance.us is still a crypto exchange that works well. Coinbase also a crypto exchange that still works well. Crypto.com, kind of those are the three primary ones for execution. For analysis, I typically like to utilize TradingView just because it has all the tools that we need to make an analysis on the trade and then figure out which way we want to go. Bit of a different setup when we look at crypto. Obviously, we don't have share bars and volume bars there because it's a decentralized market. For example, we are pulling this information, as you see here, from Binance, right there. A similar approach to the concept of it. It's like there's some news. Okay. But nonetheless, right now, Bitcoin is hovering around the 29,957. We do have the first confirmed down climate, as you see here. It is a red dot. Let me see if I can make this light as opposed to dark. It's been so long that I don't even remember. There it is, dark mode. The other side now. So that way it's a little clearer to show this. Sorry for the eye burn there. So we see that we have a confirmed down climate. It's the first one out of typically 5. So we have essentially 5 hours for a trade to play out should we go short. We see that our moving average is at 29. I'm sorry, yeah, our moving average is at 29,960. Price is currently at 29,898.5. Sorry, a lot of nines. However, our closest UFO on this chart, on the 8-minute chart, is at 3,100. However, it looks like on the 5-minute, we may actually have a setup here. So 29,958 is the moving average. And 958 seems to be, oops, not what I meant to do. 958 is definitely within this UFO here. So that would make sense given where we are. So that would be a short right here at 29,926.4. Okay. Given that these are unrelated, I don't need to connect to a broker. This should be in my paper trading. There we go. Okay. So we have a sell. The sell is going to be at 29,926.4. Okay. And we're going to risk. So we have to do the way it works with TradingView. For those of you that don't know, we have to do it in 2 legs. So we're going to risk 150 on 1 leg. And when I say 2 legs, that just means, for example, we get in right here, right? We have our T1, let's say here, our stop here, right? That's the first leg. Now the second leg, it'll be the same thing. Entry is here, stop is here. However, our T2 will be based on what we see down here below, and not what I'm trying to do, down here below a first opposing UFO, which we're going to look at in just a second. And what matters is there's no opposing UFO where we're entering, so that means our trade is valid. All right, so let's go ahead and get in before we have to get in that market. So our entry point is at 29,926. Now our stop, given that we do have slippage and this is decentralized, we're gonna consider this top UFO as well, up top here. So we're gonna engulf these two and we're gonna consider it as one. So our top is going to be at 30023. So our stop loss is going to be at 30,023.2. Now, because we need to give it a little bit of room, we're actually going to make this at 43. All right. And that's how this one is going to be set up. Now, I'm going to leave it good for the day just to get this order in before we have to get in a market. So put that in there. And now same thing for the second leg. And it just got filled. All right. So we're going to have to go in at market. And I'm just going to adjust my stop profit a little bit. And my take profit is going to be way down here, 29,223. Okay, and we're going to sell that. Okay, and now the tricky part with TradingView is the fact that it doesn't actually save that first T1, so we'll have to do it manually. And you know, can't believe it that in this day and age this is not the case, but that's where we are. So for this scenario here, we're going to have to get our T1 out manually. So looking at our current all-in, we are at 30,049.1, and our entry is at 29,926.4, right? Yep. So that means our T1 is going to have to be at 29,803.7. So I'm going to throw a 29,803.7 right there. Is going to be, so if, not what I meant to do. If we get a move down, we're going to take half the position off on this trend line here. Okay, so half the position off. I need a date and time range. What are the stats? So at 29,803, we're going to take 50% off this position. So T1, take 50% off. Now, let's talk about a little bit why we take 50% off. And of course, before we do anything else, let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this as well. Okay. Why do we take 50% off? There's a very, powerful feeling when you're risk off on a trade that if you have traded, you know exactly what it feels like. Then it's the point where you can completely and without a doubt in your mind say, you know what, I'm okay with this. Whatever it goes, if it goes up, it goes up. It goes down, it goes down. It's quite okay. And that's a very, very powerful feeling because it just kind of it frees you from any sort of notions of, okay, well, what if this happens and that happens? The other, you're not worried about it anymore, right? This trade made you 50%. So the worst thing that can happen is you get stopped off and break even, right? That's the worst thing that can happen. In trading, trust me when I tell you this, if that's the worst thing that can happen, you're doing it good. You're doing great. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at our NinjaTrader. I'm just going to move this chart to the side here to see what it's doing because the market's about to open in about a minute, 50 seconds. So saddle up, everybody. Market's opening. Okay. It's fine that it took off without us as long as it comes back to us and then takes off again, right? As of right now, it looks like it's moved quite a bit to the upside. And when I say quite a bit, it's moved, I would say more than enough to have given us our T1, which means we would be risk off at this point if we got filled when the market was moving up. However, that wasn't the case. So we're patiently waiting and anticipating. We got about 5 seconds to go until the climate's update. And there she blows. Not unexpectedly so. A more aggressive entry would also be taking this up here, this UFO here. And actually our current trade is no longer valid. Well, and the reason why I say that is because if this moving average, depending on how the market contracts, if it comes back to our entry point, if it does, you know, take the if it takes the escalator down, it should be decent. But if it takes the stairs down, it will not work, right? And the reason why I say that is because the moving average moves, right? It's in its name. So when the moving average moves down, I'm sorry, when price moves down, moving average moves down. When price goes up, the moving average goes up at the increment that you have selected it to go, depending on the calculation it's doing. If it's a 9 period, 10, 10 period, 15 period, whatever the case may be, any one of those works. Obviously, in this scenario, we're simply just going to look at and know that we were right on the direction, but we will not partake in the action. All of them are fairly far from their climate. I'm sorry, not fairly far. They're fairly far from their moving average, so we probably won't get a fill. But let's take a look at gold. Oh, it's unconfirmed. It was giving me that it's a negative 0.27 spread to the downside, but it's unconfirmed. And it looks like a similar type of scenario happening with the euro, except that it actually is confirmed. It is confirmed to the downside, but it's pushing through its moving average, kind of breaking through and broke through two UFOs there. So not much to be done here. Okay. I just want to double check something here. There we go. We're good. Okay, so that's good. That's good. And that's great. Sorry, I was just double checking because for some reason it said that my session was offline, but I just have to refresh. It is online. Everything's all good. All right. So yeah, the euro was given it's given a confirmed down climate, but it's the price just is kind of going through this area here. So a lot of movement there. The Dow is just on a tear right now. Look at that move, right? And I mean, looking at the 2-minute chart, it is an obvious, point that obviously here there is more unfilled order, so it makes sense that there's a UFO there. I find it quite interesting to behold. Right, so that's a massive move up that we simply did not have a chance to participate in. It wasn't that we missed something or anything. It's just that it did not give us a chance to get on. Okay, here we go. So the Nasdaq's the first one to start pulling down, already below the moving average, and shooting down quite a bit. The Nasdaq seems to be leading the charge towards the downside. Interestingly enough, I don't know if it's earnings or something, but I'm looking at the other chart that I have here, and the spread for the ES and the Dow is still kind of staying strong to the upside. But the Nasdaq just took a nosedive. Look at that. Well beyond the original move up here. Slicing straight through a UFO on the 23 on the 15-minute chart. Looks like it went through the first one. It looks like it paused on this second one, 15,977.50. Interesting. Interesting to say the least. Okay, looks like it's pulling up. Now we don't have a confirmed climate, so right now it is not going to give us anything actionable. ES is pausing there, definitely pausing. Um, Looking at our setup here, right? The setup needs to be adjusted now to here, 45.95, to correspond with this UFO. And the stop would be at 91 even, which is at the beginning of the next UFO. Not an ideal situation. Ideally, you'd like to encompass all the UFOs. Obviously, if you took this with micros, you could do something extravagant like put this stop down here at 86 even, right? So swing it for 9 points. I'm sorry, 9 points. Yeah, for the rest of the day. So that means your T1 would have to be 9 points, which would be 94. Sorry, 604, which would be up there now. It's about to be touched. Yeah, not much going on in the world right now. I'm just checking for. Not really seeing anything as far as crazy news coming out, or let me take a look at. Back straight just to see if there's any calendar news coming out. And nothing. Great building permits and housing starts. Housing starts change came lower than expected. Yeah, not much as far as news to move this high, so must be just market doing its thing. Meanwhile, our Bitcoin trade is kind of still sitting in that same area that we were looking at. Not much has changed there. Right now, we're just holding on and waiting for it to play itself out to see if we can capture some of this movement. Of course, it is the beginning of the climate, so we do have to give it a little bit of time. Even though obviously the market is giving us a shorting opportunity, so we got to take it. That's how it goes. We can also look at some other cryptocurrency just to see what's going on. As I mentioned, XRP was the one that just exploded over the news, obviously, given that they were the ones who were being sued, right? Their token is most impacted. As you see in one day right here, 73% gain, right? You may think, wow, that's crazy. That's just crypto. But, given the fact that when they were sued, their token fell off a cliff. I think it was at around dollar and change that it fell off just as rapidly. So, that's just the world of crypto. I think it was around here somewhere. Yeah, 21, I think it was. Right there. 33% drop in one day. I could be wrong on this, but I know it was a rather drastic drop that it happened. over a day. That the lawsuit did come in and everything went to hell for them. But here we are, climbing on up. It did touch, I believe, 90 something. So yeah, 96.50 was the high that it touched on. And now it's testing the kind of the same area as you see there on the daily. Testing the same exact area. Let's go and revert this back to an hour so we don't get lost. Okay. Still massive spreads on all the markets here, so I'm just trying to. NQ did the same thing yesterday. Yeah. Kind of. Now the question always is when I look at one market, you know, any one of them, whether it's the Russell, the Dow, whichever one it is, if one is doing something completely different, right? If one is doing something completely different, which is, look at that. I mean, that's just, you can't make this stuff up, man. you just can't make this stuff up. Complete reversal. That's just the NQ, right? So what I was trying to say by my train of thought was, you know, it always kind of goes in the back of your mind, like, is this market indicating what's about to happen, or is this market, you know, just out of sequence, right? So which one do you go with, right? Is this market front running the rest of them and giving an indication of how this day is going to go? Or is this market going to get pulled back up because the rest of them are going? Right? Because equities, they're fairly related. I mean, they're pretty much in sync, more or less, right? We all know they have different characters and different people even trade those different markets. But bottom line, they typically move in similar fashion. But then we just saw, you know, a unique scenario where, you know, the Nasdaq essentially gave up its day's win, only to just pull back and go over it again, and now it's kind of pulling back again, right? I just, you know, that's just amazing to me. That's great to see and then to behold, right? That each of these are not just a, you know, a copy paste of the other. They represent quite a different mix of stocks and quite a different mix of stocks that are traded by quite a different mix of people and funds and both professionals and individuals. So it's like I said, it's just amazing to behold. Given this kind of volatility that got kicked in here, the reason why I'm waiting on the NQ right now is because we're like, if the climate gets confirmed right now, we have a trade, right? We can either execute on this one here, or we can execute on this one here, or maybe on both, right? This one's more aggressive, but I'm just waiting for these last 30 seconds here to see if I can get an up climate confirmation. And if I do, I'll probably be taking this at market. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to not do this here because this market just moves a little too crazy. So I'm going to do this and that and that. There we go. So if this market does end up getting confirmed, it is not. Oh, man. I was so ready to pull the trigger and go in a market, but unfortunately, we just don't have the confirmation that we're looking for, and we cannot execute, right? I'm almost tempted to say, just for the hell of it, let's do it, just for the explanation, but then it would be a bad example, right? Then it would be a bad example. So right now, there's nothing near. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the euro, it's telling me it's near the EMA, but unfortunately, it is not an up climate. It is unconfirmed. So that's where we are. NQ was still unconfirmed. ES is 2.5. The spread on the ES on the climate, when I say the spread, I mean this. It's 2.4. The Dow is 2.2. The NQ is the closest one, 1.3, 1.9, 0.5. We could potentially look at GC just to see what's going on with it. I mean, the GC is actually looking fine to get in on. Let's take a closer look. We have this. We have the moving average in this area here, so we could get in at market. Our sell stop is going to be at 80.1. Our T1 is going to be at 81.9, so 83. What is that going to be? 81.9 is where we got filled, minus 80.1, that's 1.8. 83.7 is where our T1 needs to be. Now, as far as a T2, well, you simply don't have anything. So we're just going to trail stop it. Of course, this was, let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Screenshot of this. That's weird. Oh, that's why. Okay, I had to do that. Okay, take that, upload it. This looks like it may stop out almost immediately. And looks like Bitcoin ended up stopping out. So Bitcoin did end up pushing up and stopped out. So let's go ahead and take a screenshot of that too. So this was a stop out. Okay. The gold trade is hanging on. Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm reading the chat here. Yeah, it takes a while to start, trusting any indicator really. But with experience and with its use comes confidence. And well, let's just put it this way without getting too much into it. But I did a whole session on confidence with Jose a while back. A whole presentation on how essentially how it is from when you start to getting to that midpoint of any trading, any indicator, utilizing any system. It just takes time to build that confidence, and that confidence gets built with backtesting, with live trading, or rather not necessarily live trading, but trading like going through the motions of trading. Not doesn't have to be live trading. It could be sim trading. It just takes a while for you to build that confidence in a system, in a program, in a setup, whichever way you want to go about it. So right now, we're just hanging on. Looks like we're finally going to print a little green. There it is. Of course, we still have a red UFO on our left, but of course, we also have an up climate. The climate will typically um, override the UFOs, but not always. Definitely not always. Sometimes a UFO on a large time frame UFO, climate can pause and or even change or stop. So that's bottom line. All right, this is looking like it may work out. We shall see. Nice strong movement coming up. Let's see if we can get that T1. And then, of course, because we did not find an opposing UFO down below here on this time frame, right? There was nothing up here or down. Well, up, right, for long. We're going to have to trail stop this. And the way we're going to trail stop it is by moving our stop to newly formed UFOs once we get that T1. So, for example, once price hits this T1, the 83.7, we will be able to take our stop from 80.1 and move it down to 80.5, so one tick below. Okay. Looks like this is coming in fairly close. Which it did have that, impulse move up. I was really hoping that that impulse move up would impulse to our T1 and then pull back. We'll see if that happens or not. And technically speaking, this trade is still valid to take from 82 with a stop at 80.5. Because as you see, the moving average is at 80.9. So if price does end up touching here, that is a valid trade to the upside. Of course, we're already in a trade, so now we're just waiting and hanging on. As we're kind of closing up on the end of the session here, if there's any questions, any comments, anything you want to just share and speak your mind. Of course, this is anonymous chat, so it doesn't matter who's speaking, what level of experience it is, what background that question is coming from. Everything's acceptable, everything's fair game. If I can give you my 2 cents, that's what I'll do. Man, it's like there's a dead wall here at 83.3. Let's see if this final push may end up taking us to that T1. Or if this move is at its end right now and it's going to come back down. We'll see. Looks like down it is. So yeah, we just have to kind of wait and hold on. Oh, not what I meant to do. Oh man. All right, let me take a look at my screenshot because now I just messed up my stop. That's why sometimes messing with it too much gets you in trouble. Let me open up my screenshot library. Okay, our stop was at 80.1. There. when did we, which candle did we enter? Looks like we entered on this one. The one rule that I didn't explain, this is a bit more advanced for those of you who know what this is, then you know what it is. This is our candle of entry. Given the fact that we had all this working for us, we give it 1, 2, 3, and we actually close the trade. I thought we still had some time, but technically speaking right now, and again, because I didn't share this rule, right? This is, we got in on the, and usually I like to make this purple, just because I don't know why, right? That's the candle of entry. So we have to give it 1, 2, 3 candles to get to our T1, and then we're supposed to get out of that market. So we were supposed to close this here. So that's on me. I should have closed that. But of course, right now the trade is moving against. And I kind of thought of that a little late while I was looking at some other stuff here on the other screen. It's all good. Let's see here. Oh, something else that I just wanted to quickly share while we're waiting for this paint to dry. The ticker below. If you want to avoid trading the wrong futures contract, the easiest way to make sure you're on the right one is by utilizing barchart.com. That's what that would look like right here. So you just go to barchart.com, and again, I can just show you. You just go to futures, and then you go to most active futures right here. And that gets you the right contract on any one of the ones that are trading. So energies, financials, grains, indices, the whole nine. Just wanted to point that out. Okay, well, as I said, sometimes trading can be fast and fairly exciting, so to speak, right? A lot of movement up and down, but sometimes it is about hurry up and wait. Okay, what else is going on here? So gold, still the one we're looking at. Crude, very much the same. NASDAQ taking another nosedive. Look at that. Came down, went up, came down. Talk about roller coaster trading today. Some people must be losing their shirt today or making money. One of the two, right? Okay. Gold is still still in play. It doesn't want to break to either side. But we may end up seeing it hit the stop now. Touched on the moving average, if you see there. That's the gold line right here. That's the, well, let's not do that. That right here, that's the gold line. That's the 9 EMA from the 15-minute time frame. So that seems to be kind of propping it up, at least for now. We'll see. Usually it likes to do some variation though. So for example, as you see right here, it's going above it, contracts, kind of stays around, and then pulled up, and now contracts right back to it. So we'll see which way it breaks, and looks like it broke the downside. So let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this as well. And that's it for the day. It is already the top of the hour. So thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. And as I mentioned before, if there's any questions or any comments or anything you want to reach out about, please feel free to send it over to go to tradewithufos.com/Bojan, and you'll be able to ask questions. You could even comment on them, on answers and everything. If you have follow-up questions, that's a great tool, great resource for everybody. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.